Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm excited to talk about one of my favorite principles, simplicity. And we are going to explore how simplicity can help us lead a more meaningful life. So, out of my 4 principles on the Rise, RISC, we have talked about reflection, intention, and today, which is probably one of my favorites, is simplicity. So I'm excited to dive in.
Okay, when I hear the word simplicity, my first thought goes to Kim Kardashian's house with absolutely nothing in it, not a single thing on the shelf. There aren't even shelves in her home. There's literally nothing but the floor and the walls. So what am I doing wrong here when I picture that? Like, what is true simplicity?
It's so funny you say that because when people think of simplicity, or even in terms of minimalism, they attribute it to a stark, cold, white home. And that is the furthest thing from simplicity and the lifestyle of minimalism, which I've adopted over the last 5 years. And it's actually just a free way to live. You're not buried in clutter. And we're going to go into that because there's different types of clutter. I mean, the obvious is material clutter. So you can't rise to your higher self in clutter. It compromises your ability to live a more meaningful life. So that's what I tell people.
Okay, what are the types of clutter?
There are so many types of clutter. So the obvious, which I was talking about, is consumerism. So material clutter, it's the stuff that we bring into our home. Oftentimes, we bring in stuff that does not add value to our lives. We're just buying it to buy it, and we're not really thinking about why we're bringing that into our home. So if it doesn't add value and it actually depletes you, don't buy it. And that is the first type of clutter, consumer clutter. Then there's, in this day and age, digital clutter. So we have way too many apps on our phones, too much going on social media, too many people that we follow that aren't adding value, again, to our lives. Are they bringing in more negativity? Or are they, bringing in something positive for you that is not going to rattle your nervous system and agitate you or give you anxiety? So I always say that there's digital clutter we need to clean up.
How connected is physical clutter to mental clutter?
You can't get calm living in chaos. So that's what I tell people. If your home is full of stuff and feels more like a storage unit, that's not living space. So you're not really living, you're surviving. And you can't get any sort of mental clarity living in clutter. I just do not see how that's possible. And if your house is cluttered, that's okay. We are having this conversation because there are small steps you can take every day just to live in less clutter. Because I realize a lot of us do have sentimental value to certain things, and there are things that we don't want to part with. I understand that. So it's a way of organizing things better and also keeping certain spaces as clear as possible, just to invite more calm.
What's a baby step to, like, my house right now? I just feel like I can't get it clean. How do you do it?
Well, it's funny, the less you have, the easier it is to clean a house. And that's kind of what I tell people. I have kids, so naturally I have a lot of stuff, right? But I have found a way to, organize it better and also not buy multiple of things. And now nowadays, just being conscious of what comes in. But what I found is the clearer I keep my spaces, the less cleaning I have to do. And I oftentimes tell people, start small. Like, one easy thing is I tell people to toss one thing a day or put it aside in a box in the garage. Like, take one thing. Okay, I don't need that, candle holder. Never going to use it. I'm going to put it in that box because at the end of the week, I'm going to be taking it for donations. So I tell people to do that. I oftentimes tell people to start with a room that seems more manageable. Like, sometimes the kitchen's overwhelming, so that might not be a good place to start. But sometimes just the living room, just where the family communes, would probably be a great place to start.
I heard Terry Foy say, start with a 10-minute timer. Like, just set 10 minutes, get your phone out, set it for 10 minutes, and then put your phone to the side so you're not tempted to scroll in the middle of it. But just pick a drawer and set your alarm for 10 minutes and do that every day for a week. And you'll be shocked at the amount of clutter you can get rid of during that time.
I love that. Yeah, I oftentimes tell people to start small we all have that universal junk drawer, right? That can seem overwhelming, but
One or three.
One or three, right? Yeah, it depends. But sometimes it's just starting with one drawer, and that could take up some time. So, and that's okay. I think that starting with closets is hard because that really takes more time. So it's almost like take it one drawer at a time.
I don't know what's wired in my brain. I can do my closet. I'm so detached from stuff in my closet. Like if I haven't worn something that's my indicator. If I have not worn this in 1 year, I don't care if it's because it doesn't fit. I don't care because it's not in style. If it has not touched my body in a year, it needs to go. But when it comes to cleaning out shelves or drawers, I struggle tossing things. I don't have the same condolences for like a book. There's a book I haven't touched in 6 years, but I won't give it away. What is that? Why do we attach ourselves to certain things in our house?
It's so interesting because everybody has an attachment to something, and it is something different for everyone. And it is shocking because for some it's photos, for some it's sentimental family heirloom stuff. For some, it's like yearbooks. Like I tossed out all my yearbooks. They didn't mean anything to me, but my husband won't toss out his yearbooks. So it's interesting to me. And like clothes, I'm with you. Like I'm not attached to fabric. Like if I didn't wear it in the last year, it's probably not going to wear it. And people talk about doing a capsule wardrobe now to make your life easier. Pick a color, pick a couple staples, and like just make your life easier. I mean, this is what it all really is about. It's simplification is really making your life easier so you don't have to clean as much. So you're clearer and calmer. That's really what it's about. And you can decorate your house however you want, but it's not this stark, cold space. It's actually a very warm and inviting space for you to gather with your loved ones.
I love that so much. I have never thought to keep my house cleaner by getting rid of stuff. Like, and there's moments where I'm like, oh, we need to do a clean out. Like, this is too much. But I have never really thought about that being a permanent solution. Like, actually, no, don't wait to do it till it's overwhelming. Keep this lifestyle. And it sounds so simple, but it hasn't really clicked for me until just now. So thank you for making that so understandable. Okay, so we talked about physical clutter. You also mentioned digital clutter.
Yeah.
Guilty.
We all
I don't
are.
even know what it means yet, but I just know that
We all are.
I have a way too much digital clutter in my life. But to you, like, what does that mean?
Well, it's too many emails, too many apps. And for me on social media, I had to eliminate so many people I was following because I was like, why am I following 1,000 people? And I only follow like 200 people. And those people weren't really adding value to my feed. And so I had to really get clear on who I really wanted to follow and curate my feed to calm, because this online space is very unsettling and there's a lot of negativity vibrating through the screen. And that's what people don't realize. So you have to eliminate those accounts or those people that, hey, I can't take that content in. So, and same with the apps. My phone had like, I don't know how many apps, and I had to clean that. And it's still a struggle because there's always a new app for something and then you download it. But it really is constantly cleaning stuff, even in your phone, not just your home, it's your phone.
What are some indicators that it's time to unfollow someone?
It's time to unfollow someone when they are rattling your nervous system. Like something does not feel good. So it's either the content they're putting out is making you uncomfortable, and it could be negative, or it could just be hitting a button with you that's just not sitting well with you.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be because what they're putting out is wrong.
Right.
It could also be because, having awareness and owning up to the fact of they're making me feel jealous, or I'm comparing myself to this person that I don't know, even though they're doing absolutely nothing wrong. I'm feeling insecure right now. And even though I know I need to work on my insecurity, the easiest step in this moment is just to hit unfollow or to mute them. You don't have to unfollow someone. You can also mute their content so that you don't see it unless you go to their account. But I think that we as people desiring to rise to our higher self have to own up to a little bit of, am I following this person? And are these negative feelings coming from a place of jealousy inside of me?
Absolutely. And I love that you brought that up. There was a point that I couldn't follow people's fitness journeys because I wasn't on my own. So it was really making me feel uncomfortable. And fitness journeys, for the most part, are actually really positive. But it was something within myself, like I wasn't really ready at that moment to make healthier choices and focus on my fitness. So it was hitting me a little bit harder because I wanted what they had. So that's a perfect example of like, it's not somebody going off on a negative tangent on what's going on in the world. It could be actually someone who's actually doing something positive. And I actually ended up meeting a woman who I started following because of her fitness journey. And I admitted to her, I said, your content was hitting a chord with me and it made me uncomfortable. But I realized it wasn't you, it was me. So I just had to like unfollow for a while. And now I'm starting to follow more like health accounts, fitness accounts, because I'm on that journey. But it just depends where you're at. So sometimes you're not there and you just can't follow certain accounts. And that's okay. Another form of clutter is actually calendar clutter, which does exist on your phone, but it gets inputted there previously. You say yes to something and you really shouldn't be saying yes to another activity, and it ends up on your calendar in your phone. I think oftentimes we overcommit ourselves. We say yes to too many activities, too many social activities, too many activities for our children and committees. Why are we doing this to ourselves? We're not incorporating any form of rest or recovery. We're just go, 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 go. And then all these commitments get put in our calendar and they take over. So that is something to be mindful of, is how much of that calendar clutter are you bringing in?
I think where I struggle with my schedule is the insecurity of, oh, I'm going to miss out, or I feel more important if I say yes to this because these people want me to be there and I need to fulfill that thing in me or whatever. So what would you tell someone who is struggling with that insecurity a little bit of like missing out on things that feel important?
You got to adopt JOYMO, which is the joy of missing out. It's the opposite. It's so much better for your mental health.
Did you say JOYMO? Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah, I love it. I didn't think of it. Someone thought of it online. I mean, I have to say, like, I've seen it somewhere. But when I started reading that, I was like, yes, JOYMO, joy of missing out. And that's how I feel these days. I feel as if I have so much joy in rest and being mindful of the activities that are going to drain me or they're going to fill me up. If it's a social activity I know that's going to fill me up, fill my cup, I say yes. If I know it's something that's going to drain me, I try to just politely decline. You will never be able to live a simple, quiet, calm life buried in calendar clutter. It's just not going to happen. You need to make space for it. The next type of clutter I like to work on with people, and I'm not a financial expert, but I have found if you can clean up your financial clutter, it really does make a world of difference. And over the last few years, I've actually become really into investing and reading books on finance and just getting deep into why we feel we have to keep up with the Joneses on everything. And that's how people get themselves in trouble and get themselves in debt. And oftentimes we just need to take a reality check and go, okay, what do I have to clean up in my financials this year? Do I have to just say no to those vacations? Do I have to live differently maybe for a year to then live much better the next 5? And oftentimes we don't want to sacrifice. So we just want to keep spending at the rate we're spending. And we're not really looking at like, okay, where do I need to clean up?
I'm so glad that you're bringing up financials because this last January, a therapist recommended to my husband and I that we had a budget. And in my head, I'm like, I'm so good with money. I have great self-control. If we need to budget, I'll just make coffee at home instead of going to Starbucks for the next 6 months. Like, to me, in my head, it's so figured out. And then we actually took our expenses from the last year and added, which now it's really easy because apps will do it for you and stuff. Shocked by my spending habits. So shocked.
You're not alone. Guilty. I mean, we all are.
And just to take that information and even not even change it, just put it in a budget. This is how much I spend on this. This is how much I spend on this. After the awareness, like you're saying, the awareness to look at what we're currently doing Oh my goodness. Then it was easy for me to say, oh, I'm spending this much on my nails. If I just go every 3 weeks and instead of every 2 weeks, I'll be able to cut this much out by the end of the year. It's like doing less, like you're saying, decluttering the amount of things that we're doing. And also by decluttering your calendar, you're going to declutter your finances.
100%.
They are connected.
Well, oftentimes people don't realize that the money that they are not spending is actually passive income. So
Let's get into some girl math. Let's do some girl math.
That's money, in my mind, coming in. I mean, if you think about it, so you're not spending it on things that you don't need, even if you don't have like a second job or whatnot with other actual passive income coming in. That's pretty much the equivalent. The money you choose to not spend, actually money, that you're working with here.
Yeah.
So it's awareness as well, because all these things, you're just bringing a new level of consciousness, awareness. What am I bringing into my home physically? What am I bringing into my phone and my feed, right? Awareness. What am I bringing into my life in terms of activities? Are they draining? Are they filling me up? Awareness. Finances, same thing. Like, what am I being intentional with how I'm spending my money? Where is it going? Where can I save? Where can I not spend? Awareness. Again, I think we're just sleepwalking through life. A lot of us don't feel bad because that's what the majority are doing. I mean, that's the reality. We are reacting in a lot of ways to whatever life is throwing at us daily, and we're doing the best that we can. So the last form of clutter or clearing is relationship clutter. So we have to really become clear on, who is, again, having a positive impact in our life and maybe who is not. And this one's the hardest because this involves relationships, friendships, family. So it's tough. You can't just let go of somebody, right? That easily. At least it's not for me, and it's not for most people. It really sometimes takes time to realize that, but I think it's good you don't have to do a cleansing, a clearing. It could be really good guardrails that you have up that just protect your energy and theirs. And maybe you have more meaningful connections or limited connections, and it's not all the time. And that's okay, because everybody's on their own journey. You're on yours, they're on theirs, and it's, deciding who is going to be on the journey with you and maybe who you may need to let go of.
I feel like just this topic needs its own entire episodes because relationships are so difficult. Is this something you have to communicate, or is this just a new way of thinking? Because it feels daunting to say to your friend oh, sorry, I'm decluttering my relationships. What's the idea of this?
It really is you being mindful with who you spend your time with and keeping an eye on that. If there's a person where you leave their presence and they fill you with so much energy and joy, that's a keeper. If you leave an interaction feeling depleted, feeling worse than you came in, that's a signal. And that is your frequency and theirs is just not matching. And that's okay. So it really is you feeling into your body and seeing how you feel with every interaction with someone. And if they're just the negative ones are outweighing the positive, then it's really up to you to decide if you want to have that difficult conversation. And oftentimes a conversation needs to be had. That's the truth. Other times people get the message by your actions because you're not saying yes to everything they're throwing your way and every invitation, and you politely decline. So oftentimes they're getting the hint oh, okay, they're on a different path.
It's like a deposit and withdraw system. It's you can spend time with those people every now and then when you're full, when you've been spending time with your people
100%.
that fill you up. You can take a withdrawal because your account's full. It's like a bank account. But if you're constantly spending time with people that are withdrawing your energy, your time, your emotions, and like you said, it's outweighing the positive, that is something that's on you. You can't blame someone else for being a negative friend. You're allowing them to suck the life out of you, and you have to stop.
And I recently have also been adopting just a higher frequency, I guess you could say, or energy when I go into these situations. And actually in every situation, I've been trying to set my energy high so that hopefully it stays high with that person and they feed off my energy as well in a good way. And I try to stay off topics that could trigger something. So I go into a situation going, how do I want to feel today at the end of this? I want to connect and I want to feel positive after. So maybe it's not the best day to have a deep conversation about this or bring up topics that you know will inevitably stir up negative emotions. So it really depends on what my internal system can handle that day. I want to keep it light. I'm going to keep conversations and topics very light and fun. And let's talk about this. Or if they start talking about something that's negative, I deflect and try to, move the conversation to something a little bit more positive and fulfilling. Thank you for joining me on this episode. And I just hope you realize you can't rise in clutter. So stay tuned for next week's episode where I'm going to give you 10 steps to live a more simplistic life.